In this video, I want to give you a technique that will make scary movies not feel scary to you anymore. That's not the only reason I want to share this technique with you, because it's really a spiritual technique that clears negative energy out of our personal space, our energy bubble, and it also can clear it out of our living space. So I'm using horror movies as just a kind of simple and easy and concrete test to see whether this technique is actually working for you. But if you get it working, the implications are much bigger. And the reason for that is because in my experimentation with this, in my direct experience with it, I have found that horror movies are only scary in as much as they convince you to allow negative spiritual beings to scare you. And you can put this to the test yourself. Please do. I've tested it, and my 2 children have tested it. This was so effective that my kids, who were really reluctant to watch horror movies, ended up we watched the scariest horror movies that have ever been made. I mean, we researched it. We found the scariest movies, especially my youngest kid, my 10-year-old daughter at the time. She kept asking me, "Dad, I want to watch the scariest movie." And we'd watch the movie and she goes, "Was that the scariest movie? It wasn't very scary. Can we watch the scariest movie?" And so I kept researching. We watched them all. To the extent that my kids did this technique, to that extent, they were not scared. Years ago, I was flying on a plane, and one of the movies that I got to pick was a movie called The Grudge. You know, I watched it on the plane during the daytime, surrounded by 100 people, squished into a little seat with my girlfriend sitting right next to me. So it wasn't scary then. But when I got home that night and I was in my darkened apartment by myself, the fear that came over me was so intense. I've never felt anything like it. When I would close my eyes and try to go to bed, in my mind's eye, I would feel this little girl from the movie who's got black hair that hangs in front of her face and makes these creepy noises and kills people. I just kept feeling like that girl was in the room with me, right next to my bed, staring at me. You know what? I was angry at the movie. I felt like I'd gotten PTSD from this movie. And I'd watched so many horror movies, never had that happen to me before. And I felt victimized. It took me months to get over it. And guys, if I had known the technique that I'm about to teach you, none of that would have happened. If I had felt scared in my bedroom that night, I would have been able to shift that quickly and easily. It's surprisingly easy to do this. Some of you don't watch horror movies. And I think if we're really honest, it's because they scare us and we don't want to walk around our own safe home that evening after the movie feeling terrified. If you look closely at what's happening after you watch a horror movie and you're walking around in your home, what's scary? Why are you scared? I think you'll notice that it feels like there's something there. Guys, when you feel that there's something there, most likely there is something there. That's why you feel that way. After you watch a horror movie and it feels like there's something there that is negatively intentioned and is kind of malevolent and it's very scary, it's because there is something there that's negatively intentioned, malevolent, and is trying to scare you. I mean, that's my theory. I'm not telling you that you should adopt that as a firm belief without testing it. I think you should test it. Try this technique, and that's a great way to test it. And if you really do it, I think you'll find that it works. Then the implications are pretty vast, because it's not just horror movies that scare us, is it? I got scared just before I made this video. I haven't watched a horror movie. I was sitting in meditation. I thought I should make this video. And then when I finished meditation and I was going to start moving to make this video, I felt a sudden image. It came in like from this direction, and it was a sudden image of like hopelessness. It had a feeling of like hopelessness and a feeling of like, why should I make this video? It won't make any difference. It's just kind of like an Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, Eeyore vibe. Just got like inserted into my space, into my personal space, right as I'm about to make the video. So where did that come from and what is it exactly? I mean, a lot of times I wouldn't even notice that thing happening, but I had just been meditating, was very self-aware in that moment, and I noticed this thing shooting into my space. It's almost like someone slashed the tires on my car that I wanted to drive to this destination, which is making this video. My tires went flat. My enthusiasm collapsed. And it felt like, what's the point? It's hopeless. I shouldn't try making a video. My channel will never grow. I'll probably say something stupid. It'll come across in a bad way. Nobody will like it. Eeyore energy. That's a horror movie. That belief that just got thrust into my space is a little miniature horror movie. Now, do I believe it or not? And that's the question, because we're all getting horror movies thrust into our minds like this 1,000 times a day. So I want to share a technique with you that gets that influence out of our space, at least temporarily. And horror movies are wonderful. As ironic as it sounds in a channel that's devoted to spirituality and love and connection, horror movies are awesome at testing ourselves in this way. They give us like this safe means of testing. And once we conquer the horror movie on our television set, we can conquer the horror movie that keeps coming in to our space from all sides, like watching the news is one place where we're constantly being given a horror movie. So here's the technique. It's super easy. There's a lot more to it that we could go into, but I'm going to give you the simplest technique. And it's going to involve visualization. When we visualize something, really visualize it on the subtle spiritual dimension of reality, which is all around us right now, we're actually performing an action on that dimension. On this dimension, it might just be a thought in our head that no one can see, but on the energetic dimension, when we truly visualize something, not just think about it, but when we visualize something, we're doing it. The difference between visualizing and thinking about it is usually kind of like words. Like if I say, I bring a white light into the energy center above my head. That's not visualizing, that's talking about it. And that doesn't do it. If I want to do it, if I want to visualize it, then I would have to do it like this. I'm bringing a white light into my 8th chakra. God, I should have done that earlier. I just felt my nervousness making this video go, just dissolve. So there's a difference. When we visualize something, we're not just seeing it in our mind's eye, we're feeling it, we're doing it. Okay, I hope that distinction makes sense to you. And that was the technique, actually, guys. Assuming for a moment, try it, test it for yourself, that we have an energy field, that we have a bioelectric field or a spiritual electric field, and there's different energy centers in that field, chakras, as they call it in India. There is an energy center at the top of our energy bubble, our egg. We have an energy egg or bubble that surrounds our body. At the top of that energy bubble, right at the boundary, it seems like, is an energy center. It's usually about 3 feet above our head. That's the 8th chakra. And that chakra somehow modulates our entire reality inside this energy egg. When we shift our 8th chakra, it shifts everything in our energy field. Assuming you want to try this, you can get a test. Watch a horror movie, maybe something that you've avoided because you're worried it was going to be too scary. Before you start watching, shift the color, the energy frequency in your 8th chakra to diamond white. A scintillating, brilliant white diamond. Put that in your 8th chakra. Just bring it down from above. You can also intend, because your intention is very, very powerful on the energy realm. In fact, it's really indispensable. You need to be intending these things happen. So you can visualize and intend that up at a higher dimension of reality, one that vibrates at a high spiritual frequency, there is abundant diamond white light there. And then you just see it, a beam of that diamond white light dropping down into your 8th chakra and gently filling it and shifting its color to diamond white light. Try it and see how that feels before you've even started the movie. I cannot do that without a smile appearing on my face. When I do that, diamond white light. Okay, a smile didn't appear on my face that time. I just can't do that without it creating a shift in the way my whole body mind feels. It feels so much better. I feel like a peace. So before you start the movie, put diamond white light into your 8th chakra and intend that it will stay there for the whole movie. It won't, but that's all right. Intend that it will. That'll help. Next thing you want to do, see the same thing happening, but in the room that you're watching the movie in. One way I do that is I visualize a giant, brilliant diamond white colored diamond drop down into the center of the room and then expand to just beyond the walls of the room, so that the whole room is filled with this diamond white light that stays there like a sphere bigger than the room. And I intend that it will stay there, and it won't, but it helps to intend. It'll stay longer if you intend. Because what will happen is we'll make a different decision as we start watching the movie. A horror movie is designed to tempt us, to convince us, to persuade us into making a different decision. A horror movie doesn't want diamond white light in our 8th chakra, because if we have that light there, the movie will not be compelling at all. It won't seem real. I mean, it'll be obviously a movie. And it's amazing, like even some of the best horror movies out there, when you watch them doing this technique, you'll stop being scared and convinced by what's happening. Instead, you'll be like, that makeup isn't actually not very good right there. Little details that when you've watched the movie before, you never noticed it, you'll suddenly notice. And it can even be boring. My daughter has stopped wanting to do this because she says, no, if I do this, the movie will be boring because it'll be so obviously fake. You know those people who watch horror movies and they don't get scared by them? They don't get scared by them because they don't believe in the supernatural most of the time. So supernatural movies don't convince them to drop their color and to start believing. I believe in the supernatural, so supernatural horror movies can really frighten me, but not when I do this technique. So you bring that diamond white into your 8th chakra, you bring it into the room and expand it, and then start watching the movie. For me, what I have to do is whenever I start to feel that the movie is starting to grab me, if I've really got my color there, it will not grab me. I'll just be watching it like I'm watching a McDonald's commercial. But if the movie starts to convince me, and it usually does that by showing us characters who themselves look really convinced. They look like they're terrified. They're breathing hard and all that stuff. And then if the movie is really clever and well made, it will start to convince me that it's real. And then when I look at my 8th chakra and I see what color's there, I will see that to the extent that I'm starting to believe the movie, to that same extent, there's a different color in my 8th chakra. And I won't tell you what color that is because I want you to find out. But when I've asked my kids what color they saw in their 8th chakra when we started getting all scared together, they saw the same color that I saw. I can usually shift the color back to diamond white light without pausing the movie, but sometimes I find my kids can't. When they were starting to get scared, I would just pause the movie and I would say, hey, are you feeling scared? Yes. What color is in your eighth chakra right now? Is it diamond white light? No. What color is it? Blank. I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to bias you. We'd shift it back and really ground it in, and we'd start watching the movie, and the movie would suddenly just be non-compelling again. Those hooks that would get in and start convincing us and pulling us into the reality of the movie would fall away. And it would be just like we're watching something that's obviously not real. And again, it can be kind of boring, but it's so interesting at the same time to see how that process works. Because this process, like I said before, is happening throughout our entire lives. We keep buying in to other people's stories, whether it's coming from a person in our lives or from a group of people or from the news or wherever it's coming from. We keep buying into scary stories. And then when we treat them like they're real, we start running away from them or attacking them and doing all this crazy stuff. And it's not real. I don't know exactly why, but when we watch a movie, negative beings can see it and they say, hey, this is my chance to come in. And I will make myself look like the monster in the movie. You know, when I had that experience years ago, there was a being standing next to my bed, making itself look like that, making its presence felt, trying to scare me. Why would it do that? Because it's good to have a hobby, right? These guys, they've got nothing better to do. They don't have a better hobby, and that's sad. Like if you think about it, if scaring people is the only thing that appeals to you, think about how wounded and dark your mind is. If that's the only thing you got going in your life is scaring human beings, wow. Think about how brutally unhappy you would have to be if that's all you got. There are beings like that. They can see us. We can't see them usually. When we start watching a movie, we start getting scared. It's like a beacon gets sent out to these beings and they come. They think this is my chance to really get some hooks into this person. That's one thing that happens, but there's another thing. Some horror movies I've noticed channel negative energies. The people who've made the movie, whether they're doing it consciously or unawarely, I'm not sure. It's probably a little bit of both sometimes. They are making agreements with negative entities to be a part of the energy of the movie, to become a part of the aesthetic, artistic, creative process and product of the movie. So that when you watch the movie, you're actually connecting to spiritual beings that the movie makers were connecting to. That happens also. Some movies I have found are so much scarier than they really should be. And I can feel that it's not just random beings passing by, seeing what's happening, who want to play this game with us. There's a conduit that opens up from the movie that brings in a certain presence. So in a certain way, people who make horror movies, when they're doing it in this way, some horror movies are not like this. Some horror movies are just playful and fun and they don't have the same energy or vibe behind them. But some are really dark. Some movie makers are channeling darkness into our world. And I think that's something for them to look at. And it's something for us to be aware of. When you're done with the movie, if you still feel frightened, it means you still let something in. Or maybe you cleared the room, but when you walk out of the living room into your dark bedroom, you feel something there. That's all right. It means there's still beings present that think they can get a hook into you. They haven't given up yet. They only can do that if you let them, if you agree to let them. If you agree, what you're actually doing is on a deeper level, you're saying, yes, I really do not have power in the face of this presence, of this energy. Just like the movie told me. The movie taught me or tried to convince me that I don't have autonomy and authority over my own space. That's a lie. And every horror movie that's trying to scare you will tell you that lie. And they'll show it to you in the movie. The characters won't have authority. They're being victimized. So when you go into your darkened bedroom, if you still feel something, just take a minute, bring in that diamond white light, let it fill up your eighth chakra. You can even drop it down into your whole body and fill up your whole energy egg with it. And then do the same thing into the room. Drop the diamond white light into this room and then just blast it out almost like a bomb. You can make it like really intense. The more intense and more you feel it, the more powerful it will be. Don't be violent though, because that kind of feeds the energy, the negativity. If you're violent, just be strong. Be certain that you have authority over your personal energy space and the energy space of your home. It's your home, not any other being's home. You pay rent or a mortgage or you own it outright. It's your space. You get to make that space how you want it. You do have that authority. Last, I want to say that if there's a lot of negative presence in your life just on a regular basis, even without horror movies, and you do this technique, you might notice something fighting back. Something doesn't want to leave, doesn't want to get kicked out. You might even have a relationship with some of these types of beings. You might find that you're actually in a relationship with a negative spiritual being, and you get something from that relationship. Maybe that being makes you feel powerful. Maybe it makes you feel isolated from other people, but you've got a special connection with it, and it's going to love you and take care of you like all those bad people out there don't do. Stuff like that, negative relationship stuff. Very similar to if we were in a relationship with a human being who was a narcissist. Narcissists can be so manipulative. These beings are very narcissistic in my experience. That's it. So bring the diamond white light in. Pause the movie as many times as you need to keep that boundary clear and firm and see what happens. Once you have that experience, let me know in the comments below if you want to. But then see where else it applies in your life.